Hi guys, it's Daniel here again. In this video, I want to give you guys some tips and advice about brain training. So I've given some general advice in the past about how you should do brain training, how much you should be doing, and what sort of gains you can expect from that. But I've changed my thinking a little bit in terms of how much training you should be doing and really how to think about it. So in the past, what I said was the optimal amount of training to do is 30 to 90 minutes every second day. And that is still a really good baseline to plan around. But now I've realized that that does not work for most people. So the reason why it doesn't work for most people is because most people aren't really ready physically and mentally to be doing that amount of training. So really, to see the benefits from brain training, your body and your mind need to be physically ready to train. It's very similar to training at the gym or training cardio, trying to get fitter or stronger. It's very similar to either of those where you need to be ready for it. Your body needs to be ready for it. You need to have the right nutrients in your body. You need to be recovered. You need to have slept well. You need to have low stress levels. You need to have all those things, just like you do if you're trying to become stronger or fitter. You need to have all those things in place before you start doing an optimal amount of brain training. So 30 to 90 minutes is still a good zone to target, but only if you have those other things in check. So when I started my brain training journey, which is many years ago, I think it's 6 years ago now or more, 7 years ago, when I started, I think I accidentally was really on point with all of those metrics. So without really thinking about it before I started the training. So my sleep was really good. I wasn't really optimizing it, but I didn't really have many responsibilities at that time. I'd kind of designed my life to have a low amount of responsibilities. So I designed my work to only be for about 10 hours per week. So because of that, I could easily sleep as much as I wanted. And my diet was fairly on point. It wasn't quite as optimized as it is now, but it was fairly on point. And my stress levels were very low. So because of that, I was basically in a really optimized state for doing brain training before I even started. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I think that really helped me in the first couple of years that I did the brain training. So years ago, when I gave advice on brain training and I gave the advice to copy what I did, which was 30 to 90 minutes every second day, that advice isn't really valid anymore because that was based on the assumption that your sleep is on point, that your diet is on point, that your stress levels are low. If you've got all those things in check, then yes, you should be doing 30 to 90 minutes every second day. But if you don't have those things in check, most likely you won't see any benefits from the brain training because your ability to adapt and to recover from the brain training would be low if your sleep quality is poor, if your diet is poor, and if your stress levels are too high. So my new advice basically is to fix those things first before you start doing brain training. You also need to build the habit of the brain training at the same time, but you shouldn't think of, like if you're just starting brain training, you shouldn't think about it that you're going to get a lot of gains from the brain training if those things aren't in check already. You should focus on fixing those things, fixing your sleep, fixing your diet, fixing your stress levels, while starting a very small amount of brain training just to build the habit. For example, 5 minutes every day or 10 minutes every day. So just doing that small amount of brain training while fixing those other metrics, you'll see a huge gain in your mental performance, but it won't be from the brain training, it will be from fixing those other factors. Because in order to be at your peak, you need to be getting really good quality sleep, you need to be getting all the brain nutrients that you need for optimal cognition, and your stress levels need to be low because that can easily tank your mental performance by 10 to 20% very quickly. So if you're starting brain training, or if you've been brain training for a while but you haven't seen much results, think about those other factors. Are they holding you back? Do you need to work on your sleep or your diet or your stress levels? Think about that and perhaps cut back on the brain training. Just keep it to a level where it will build the habit of brain training but not necessarily give you gains from brain training. And then once you've fixed those other factors, once your sleep and diet and stress levels are fixed, then you can ramp up the brain training again, because at that point you will be ready for a higher level of brain training. And also you would have built the habit by still doing a small amount of brain training, 5 or 10 minutes a day. You would have built the habit and you'll be ready to train at an optimal level at that point. So that's my new advice for beginners and for people who might be stuck in their brain training journey, who perhaps haven't seen the results that I have seen or that other people have seen. Because I think I kind of got lucky that I was ready to do the brain training when I started to do it. Because I have had other periods, like particularly recently, where I wasn't really in a state where I could effectively do brain training, because I'd gotten myself into a bit of a downward spiral. I'd gotten myself into a bit of a sleep debt, and my stress levels were higher. My diet was still fairly on point, but those other factors were basically putting me into a state where training would not be that effective for me. I wouldn't really be seeing the gains from it. So if I had started at that point, I wouldn't have seen much gains. So I kind of got lucky that when I started my brain training journey, I was ready for it. It was the perfect time for me to really see massive and fast gains from brain training. So yeah, guys, that's my advice for you if you're struggling to see gains from brain training, or perhaps you're just not finding it enjoyable, or you're finding it hard to stick to a consistent amount of training. Think about those other factors, because they're probably holding you back, not just in your ability to recover and adapt from the brain training, but they could easily just be holding you back, even in terms of your motivation and in terms of your ability to build a habit of brain training. They could be holding you back in that aspect as well. So yeah, that's about it, guys. If you like this content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Cheers, guys.